This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Best Bets for Pets. I'm your show host, Michelle Fern. You know, most of the people listening to Best Bets have pooches, dogs, cats, and we're kind of used to the fact that they, make our home their own, meaning a lot of, artwork, on the floor, on the carpet, on the couch, on the windowsills, on the doors. And, what can you do? Well, my guest today has created a product that protects windowsills, doors, and more. So we'll be right back and we'll talk to him and find out how his idea came about and how to use it and all that great stuff. We'll be right back.
Take a bite out of your competition. Advertise your business with an ad in Pet Life Radio podcasts and radio shows. There is no other pet-related media that is as large and reaches more pet parents and pet lovers than Pet Life Radio. With over 7 million monthly listeners, Pet Life Radio podcasts are available on all major podcast platforms, and our live radio stream goes out to over 250 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, Odyssey, TuneIn, Stitcher, and other streaming apps. For more information on how you can advertise on the #1 pet podcast and radio network, visit PetLifeRadio.com/advertise today.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back, everyone. I'd like to welcome Gary Castelle. He is the owner and, I believe, creator of Sill Shield. Welcome, Gary.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. So I'm so excited to have you here. Let's tell everybody, and you have to paint a good visual picture because we're audio. What is Sill Shield?
The Sill Shield is a fairly simple device. It's basically an angle that covers your windowsill and then comes down in front to wrap around the corner. And it allows a dog to stand in the windowsill, look out, keep themselves entertained without doing damage to the sill itself.
Okay. And also maybe good for cats as well that want to lay on that windowsill and claw it up.
I admit I am a dog person. I created it for dogs. I get cat people all the time. I get at least once a month somebody who has a window behind the kitchen sink or a window in the shower and they want to use it for water. I have done several preschools because the kids are banging on the windowsill. So yeah, people have come up with uses that I didn't originally intend. It wasn't what I was thinking, but if you have a windowsill and need it protected, I have the product.
Well, great. Now, how did you decide? Let's go way back. What made you first decide that I needed to make something? And you're a dog person, so there's probably a dog story in there somewhere. But how did the idea come about for Sill Shield?
Exactly. I've been lucky. Most of my dogs are very good. I had one that was a monster, and she barked at everything that moved and spent all day in the window tearing up the windowsills. And I've got to the point where they were no longer repairable. And I actually had to have a carpenter come, chisel them out and replace them. And it was very expensive. And justly so. It was a lot of work. It wasn't something like, oh, you just take out a couple of screws, pop out a windowsill and pop out a new one. He worked on it for hours. So after the new ones were in, and this was back in the early 2000s, I said, I have to stop this from happening again. So I went on the internet and I found there was only one product, and it was a thing that you put a 9-volt battery in, and it shocks the dog's foot if they step on the windowsill. Well, my dog was way too smart for that. She just put her foot on the wall or below the window, alongside the window. And the problem actually got worse because now instead of having just a damaged sill, my walls were being ripped up. So fortunately, along my many careers, one of my many careers, I had worked in a plastics factory back in the 80s. So I knew something about plastics. And I sat down and, with a sketch pad, actually it was a yellow legal pad. I wish I had saved it. I did not. And I came up with a couple of designs. I started out with fancy ones that were basically designed to fit my sills. But then I realized I had to come up with something simpler that was more universal, that could be used on any windowsill. And I wound up coming up with just the idea of a simple angle shape. I knew a gentleman in New Jersey who owned a plastic factory, and I contacted him and I said, I have a product that I think will be a big seller. Can I come to your place and make some prototypes? And we made a deal, and I made my first handful for myself and a couple of friends who I had mentioned it to. And that was my testing phase. I handed them out to a few friends. The original ones were only in white because all my windowsills were white. And the initial feedback I got was good, with one exception. The original ones had little screw holes in the corners to hold it in place. And my feeling was filling in a tiny little screw hole is no big deal. Nails ripping up an entire sill, that is a big deal. But I got so much negative feedback about the screw holes that I stopped for a few months and tried to figure out a better idea. Well, just then I had purchased a new car. And in the Northeast, if you buy a car, inevitably you get a toll taker thing that sticks to the windshield. And when it automatically charges toll, so you don't have to stop and hand off money, for those of you who live in better parts of the country.
Down south, we have the same thing.
Yeah. So as soon as I was putting this thing on the windowsill, it was the light bulb moment. I was like, wow, this is how I stick the shield on a windowsill without using screws. I pulled the toll device off, and right on the little strips, it said 3M. So I called 3M. I explained to them what I wanted to do, and they said they had a similar but better product for me. So now I had a product and a way of attaching it. This is early 2006 by the time the testing was done. Back then, there wasn't GoDaddy and things like that where you could build your own website, but a neighbor of mine was a website builder. So I had him build me a site. I knew I couldn't be the only one to have this problem.
Yeah,
I
can't wear all the hats.
I can't have the only bad dog. And when I walk my dog, I see other dogs in the window. I know they're out there.
Gary, I want to interrupt for one thing. That you said you built an angle. So it's basically the plastic is angle shaped like an L that would cover the windshield and a little bit.
Yes, a little below. It sits flat on the sill and then comes down about an inch in front, because my dog, and actually the next one I got, kind of liked to hang right on the corner. And it was a rounded corner of the sill, and many sills have a rounded edge. Just a flat piece didn't cover that rounded part. So I had to make it come down in the front to cover that rounded part, which I subsequently learned is called a bull nose. So once I had the part, I had the way of mounting it, I had a website made, and crossed my fingers. And sure enough, right away, people started buying them. Slowly at first, but more and more every year. Within the first year or so, I had enough people ask me for a clear one that I decided, okay, I'll make them in white and clear. And over the next year or two, I added a few more sizes because I knew nothing about windows. I have no idea what windows, other than the ones that in the homes I've lived in, I've never even thought about a windowsill. So I added several sizes, and now I have 12 standard sizes in white and in clear. And I also do custom work. Custom work can be custom sizes, notching if you have a casement window with a crank, and all kinds of other requests that I get where people have some kind of intricate molding and they need something that you can't buy just off the shelf.
Okay, we're going to take a short break and then I have some questions. We're going to be right back after a word from our sponsor. Hey Hey everyone, Michelle Fern here. You know, being a pet parent is a huge responsibility. And since we don't talk dog or cat, we have to try our best to understand what's going on. But you know, knowing something's up with their health and not knowing why is one of the biggest challenges of being a pet parent. I remember when Zeus had vestibular old dog disease. This happens in the middle of the night or late at night. And of course, that was a huge expense going to the midnight vet clinic and all this blood work and all this other stuff. Boy, if I had Fuzzy then. Fuzzy is a telehealth service for pet parents that offers 24/7 access to personalized pet care from veterinary professionals. From everyday questions to middle of the night emergencies, Fuzzy has the answers pet parents need. Through live chat and virtual vet consultations available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, Fuzzy can answer your pet questions, big and small, urgent, and everyday. Fuzzy can also recommend the exact right products for your pet, all of which are handpicked by their established team of veterinary professionals and available at discounts exclusive to Fuzzy members. From getting your pet's diet just right to meeting their middle of the night needs to finally figuring out what makes their breath smell that way, nothing is too big or too small for a Fuzzy call. Right now, Fuzzy is offering our listeners a free 7-day trial membership. Go to yourfuzzy.com/PetLifeRadio today to sign up. That's a free 7-day trial and access to exclusive member discounts on pet meds, supplements, food, and more at yourfuzzy.com/PetLifeRadio. Again, yourfuzzy.com/PetLifeRadio for your free trial of Fuzzy with access to 24/7 personalized pet care and vet recommended product.
Let's talk pets
Let's talk pets
on Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back, everyone. We're talking to Gary, and he has developed a product called Sill Shield, which protects your windowsills. And I know there's another product as well, but let's finish up with Sill Shield. You mentioned the 3M product, but since it doesn't have nails, how does it attach to the windowsill?
The 3M, I call them mounting. It's called dual lock. That's what 3M calls it. And I get a version that they call low profile. It's relatively thin. The dual lock are peel and stick on one side and similar to Velcro on the other side. The difference between them and Velcro is Velcro has a rough side and a fuzzy side. These are all the same, but any two will mate to each other. So the attachment's very simple. Each shield comes with a strip of mounting coins. You put the coins on the shield. You peel in with the glue side to the shield. Then you mount another set of mounting coins to those ones that you just put on the shield, and then just press it on the sill. That may have sounded confusing, but I have a very simple instruction sheet that I include, and much to my amazement, everyone seems to know how to use it.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. I mean, thank you for the sample. I tried it out because Nikki, who's he's Japanese and he's not that tall, but God, for a little dog, he'd sure make some mess and has messed up some windowsills. Although I also have a dog that once ate a windowsill, so your Sill Shield would have been helpful because he wouldn't have even tried with the plastic. But very easy.
For me, I was very surprised at how many small dogs are in the window. I didn't think they could reach, but I found two things were very common amongst my small dog people. The owners either had a window that went all the way to the floor, often right next to the front door, or, and I get this a lot from like dachshund owners and dogs that you never think could reach a window, they stand on the back of the couch.
Oh, yeah.
Bark out the window.
Or whatever else is near the window. Yep.
I was shocked with how many small dog owners need windowsill protection. But I also get a lot of large breed where it's not used for their paws. It's used as a drool guard.
Yes. And actually, my cats liked it too.
I get cat people because they tell me it's not the claws, but the fur stains the paint job.
I haven't had that problem, but interesting.
That's the feedback I've got. Most of them, I have no idea what people are doing with. But there are customers that I have back and forth with. So I am able to get feedback. And I have a lot of customers who, after they get my product, I may have not have spoken to them before, but they're so happy with it. I get a lot of customers who write me thank you notes and send me great pictures of their pets on my shields. It's very rewarding, especially in the early days where I really wasn't making much money and I wasn't sure if I was doing the right thing. I made a million mistakes. I had never sold a product, an invention before. I never been on the internet really other than sending an email. I was in very new territory for me. And the lovely reviews that I got and the thank yous really kept me going in the early days.
What is the most interesting story you've received from a customer?
My very first review, which sadly is no longer on my site. I had my site rebuilt a few years ago, and I lost all the early reviews. But my very first review was a woman who wrote me to tell me that I saved her marriage.
Wow.
Because her husband said the dogs were so destructive that they had to go. And she said if they had to go, she was going to go with them. But thanks to my shields, they remained a happy family.
Well, that's always good. Hey, you're a pet parent. You love your fur babes. You can't let something like a windowsill stand between you. You have to resolve it. Now, since then, you've added another product.
Well, what happened was, once again, like I said, I do have a certain amount of back and forth with some customers. I started getting requests for a door shield, and I knew they existed. And my feeling at the time was I would go online, find a door shield, buy it. And if I liked it, I'd figure out who made it and just sell that. I ordered a couple and didn't like any of them and said, well, I can come up with something better than this. And the biggest complaint with most of the door shields are that they come rolled up so they fit in a small box. It's much easier to ship them. I have one that I bought 12 years ago. It still won't sit flat. It still wants to curl back up like the way I popped it out of the box.
So, Gary, these door shields are not made of plastic then?
They are plastic, but they are not rolled up. If you buy my big door shield, it's a big flat box. All my products come with a very special guarantee. All my products have my personal lifetime guarantee. As long as I'm alive, they're guaranteed. When I'm gone, you're on your own.
Got it.
Knowing enough about plastics, my door shields are very light and very thin, and no dog has ever clawed their way through one. And if they did, I'd replace it for free, without question.
How does it work?
It uses the same mounting coins that I use for my Sill Shields, and it's basically just a big, tough piece of high-tech, expensive plastic. There's a common thought that plastics are cheap. Well, that's true of some plastics, but other plastics are actually fairly sophisticated and come a bit pricier. I decided that it was better to go with one of the higher-priced, high-tech plastics because it's thinner and lighter. For a large door shield, if it's going to be a heavy plexiglass, you'd have to screw it into the door. It's going to weigh a couple of pounds. There's no little Velcro that's going to hold that in place. I won't get into technical terms because unless there's other plastic engineers listening, no one will understand. But I use a very high-tech polymer. It's very thin, very clear, and very tough.
We're talking a lot about plastics, especially the door shield. And I just have to ask, because I'm sure you've had these comments. These days, everybody's, earth-friendly, plant-friendly, all of this. Do you ever get anybody who says, well, I like it, but it's plastic. I don't know.
No, because I think most people understand that plastic isn't all lumped in together. Things that are single-use or over-packaged, where you go to the store and you buy a little something and it's in a plastic box that's in a plastic box that's wrapped in plastic and you're throwing it off. Exactly. I think people understand that there are certain items. They say that if they took plastics out of an airplane, the thing wouldn't fly. It would be too heavy to fly if you didn't make the seats out of plastic. There are certain applications where you want something to be light and strong or clear, and it's going to last for years. In those instances, plastic is seen as acceptable. I actually have a degree in biology. That was my original field of study back in college. And I consider myself environmentally friendly and do my best and to recycle and do what I can. But I just don't see another option.
I was just throwing it out there, but
well, it's funny. Early on, one of the things I tried very early on was having them made from recycled material. I figured that would be good advertising, to be able to say good for my own soul, but also good for the people who are plastic concerned. But what I found was it's hard to get a steady supply of this high-tech plastic recycle. It just wasn't feasible. It was actually almost impossible to do because I couldn't get a steady supply. My manufacturer couldn't get a steady supply of clean recycled material. And recycling is actually a bit more tricky than most people think it is. And sadly, most recycled plastic never actually gets recycled. It gets shipped overseas for someone else to do something with it. But like I said, I think most people understand that there are certain things and there's a trade-off. Yes, I'm using plastic to save your sill, but if your sill gets destroyed, they'll have to cut down another tree to make you a new sill.
That's what I was going to say. It might be, some people are just, absolute. I mean, there's your extremist people that are like plastic. No, but the thing is, if your door gets destroyed, then you have a carbon footprint of replacing the door, and maybe not once, but twice. So not only is there, your carbon footprint is larger, your economical cost is larger and emotional and so on and so on. So no, I absolutely agree with you, but it's just such a trend these days. I could see someone saying, well, can you make it plant-based? Not everything can be plant-based.
Yeah. And that's the cutting edge of plastics is infusing plant-based materials into plastics to help them biodegrade faster. Unfortunately, as far as I know, none of them are nice and clear.
Okay, I have a question for you. I grew up a dog person, still a dog person, but I'm a cat person too. So have you developed something for couches for our cat people? Not yet.
No, people have asked me about creating other products for something like that. I don't know enough about couches. Couches come in so many shapes. All I can picture is something like my grandmother's hideous plastic slip covers.
No, not that.
Exactly.
It's something like maybe on corners or something, a corner one, so that the cats, I don't know, it would be really hard. There's so many types of couches.
The next product that I would come out with in the Shield, because I have created other products for other reasons, but the next Shield product that I would come out with if I came out with one, and there are some that are out there, I get requests for car sill protectors because the same dogs that are barking out the window in the house are barking out the window in the car. And usually I just direct.
Yes. And they destroy the heck out of all of whether it's fabric or leather or pleather, whatever it is, they destroy the heck out of whatever that is in your car, next to the windowsill.
Yeah, when I was first contacted about that after 2 or 3 or whatever, when enough people had asked me, I looked into it. And there are several products out there. I could copycat one of them if I wanted to add one to my line. But as far as I know, the ones that are out there work. So I don't think there's a need for me to get into that market. But as I said, usually I just do it. If someone asks me about it, I do a quick Google and send them a link and say, hey, check out this one.
Plus, there's so many types of cars. I mean,
yeah. Well, what I like is I always like when anyone has any kind of plastics question or dog behavior question or whatever, I like it when people ask me. And if I don't know, I'm more than happy to send you someplace. I get people all the time who have like a deep bay window or a window seat. And I don't have the right product for that because a lot of times when you have a deep bay window, it's a whole dog jumping up there. And my plastics, in my opinion, are too slippery. And I worry about a dog running across the room, jumping up on that window seat, hitting my plastic that's slick and shooting right through the window.
Oh, God.
So I refuse to sell. I've had people ask me about using my door shields for that type of application. And I tell people, no, go buy a yoga mat take a pair of scissors and cut it to the size you need, because a yoga mat will give a dog a grip.
Very good idea.
I'm more than happy to send you to something else if I think that's the right product for you. There's actually another product for windowsills. It's a film, and I've had a lot of people try it and come to me. When I looked at it online, it has very mixed reviews.
I can't see a film really holding up, not to dog's paws.
The complaint about the film apparently is that it's a paint remover when you go to take it off.
That too.
But there are some applications. Some people come to me with these incredibly elaborate, curved and grooved moldings, and just my flat shield just isn't the right fit for them. So at least once, twice a month, I recommend somebody try the film. Because if I don't have what I think is the right solution for you, I'll send you to where I think the best solution is.
Ah, well, that's really nice of you. Do you have any other new products on the horizon, or do you think you pretty much hit the right market you want to hit?
Well, I have one other product that I've only made a prototype for, and I love it, but I don't know if it's for everyone else. I like using harnesses on my dog. And don't ask me how or why, but every time I put a harness on my dog, I put it on the wrong way. Then I have to take it off and turn around and put it on the right way.
Gary, I got to tell you, my producer, he is a genius. He always gets confused with the harnesses. And
okay.
Stuff. I mean, this guy's built a robot from scratch. He's a genius. You're just like you. I mean, look what you created. But these harnesses, it's for some people, yes, I completely.
Here's my harness idea. The harness is black, except the part that goes on the neck is red. And I'm going to call it the red on the head harness for idiots like me who always put the thing on backwards.
Well, I would take out the word idiots, but I would definitely, that's a great idea.
And I don't know if it's just, now the sad thing is about a year ago, I found a woman, I can't sew. I found a woman who was going to make them for me. And she makes custom leashes and collars. She makes all my dog's stuff. And the pandemic hit, and I haven't been able to find her. I don't know what happened. I saw her. I explained to her what I wanted. She said, great, no problem. I'll get it to you. And she vanished.
You know what? Keep looking. There's other people out there.
It's one of those things. I just have to get back to it. The windowsill protector business boomed during the pandemic because so many people started fixing up their homes instead of going on vacation.
There's a lot of people these days, and the pet industry is only growing. There's a lot of people these days that prefer to use a harness because it's more pet friendly. Choke collars are really just these days for most people don't want to use them for any dog, even very strong, very aggressive dogs. They're just gone the way,
I've always had mutts. Not as a child, my parents bred and showed Dalmatians, but as an adult, I've always had mutts. And
mutt rule. I've always had mutts too.
My second one was kind of funny looking. She was a big girl with a skinny head, and there was just no collar that she couldn't slip out of in 2 seconds. So with her, that was the first time I ever used a harness, and I've just used one ever since because she had a fat neck and a skinny head. There was just no way that a collar, if she backed up at all, she was out of that collar.
You know what? You would be amazed how many times I've been someplace and it doesn't happen daily, thank goodness, and there's someone that's trying to get their pooch back from they're coming from, the pet store, vet visit, and the dog just slipped right out of the collar.
Oh, yeah.
It happens more times than you think, except for those, rare dogs that have, some have really big heads too. So
yes, I had a pit mix who had a giant actually my first 2 dogs as an adult. One was a pit mix with a giant oversized head, and the other was a husky mix with a skinny little head.
You never know. Nicky, we have just Nicky now, and I think he has a pretty big head. We always say he's very cute, but not too smart. But Havanese are supposed to be smart. He missed that gene. Sorry, Nicky. But let's talk about Gary. Where can people buy Sill Shield? Where do they need to go?
The best place to buy them is directly from me. And that's at sillshield.com, SILLSHIELD. That way you're getting them directly from me. I'm the only person on the planet that offers custom windowsill protectors. Now, there are other places you can buy them. On Amazon, on dog.com, in the Company of Dogs, 1-800-PET Supplies. All they do is send orders to me. I do all the shipping for everybody, myself or my nephew, my trusty assistant. But when you order through Amazon, you can't call me directly if there's a question or a problem. Amazon doesn't like people going around their platform, which makes sense.
Right.
And I'm on House. And just this year, I started on Etsy, and that's actually been surprisingly busy.
Well, I want to say I wish you amazing success with Sill Shield. And we'll have this information for everybody that's listening while you're driving or whatnot. This information will also be on Pet Life Radio on the show page. There'll be a link to the website. And Gary, I just want to thank you for coming on Best Bets for Pets and telling us all about Sill Shield.
You're most welcome. Thank you for having me.
I hope you guys found that interesting. You know, sometimes it's something that seems like so simple and you think, why didn't I think of that? And someone brilliant did think of that. So you just have to go get it. So please be sure to check out Sill Shield. I want to thank Gary for coming on Best Bets for Pets. Thanks to my tester, which is Nikki. Oh, I'm so glad to have a Sill Shield because he has destroyed a couple of windshields with his lovely craziness to go get whoever's outside. And I don't know what he would do with them, but I love my Sill Shield. I also want to thank my cat crew. And this time it was Molly and Dennis that tested the Sill Shield and they had fun. And of course, thank you to my amazing producer, Mark Winter, for making me and my guests sound amazing. And a humongous thank you to everybody listening. I appreciate you so much. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. And, you know, keep listening. You never know what we're going to have on Best Bets for Pets.
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.